back, everyone, to our Groundskeeper chat series. I'm your host, Meg Kruger, and I have the world's best pick-me-up coming your way because I have an all-star cast of women in turf, our next panel discussion. So if you're feeling down like me because you just returned from the best week of your life, this panel discussion is going to give you that pick-me-up. We're going to talk about some really cool things that we got to do last week, all the things that we got to celebrate. So I don't want to talk too much and take away from any of the excitement that we all are experiencing to share. So I'm going to just go around and introduce the panelists for you, and then we're going to get started. Okay. So we have Ashley Kendall. She's our assistant superintendent from TPC Piper Glen. I am having to use a cheat sheet because these ladies, they have a long list of talents, repertoire. So it's not easy to just list off all these talents here. We have Kelly Lynch. She is our Northern U.S. Regional Manager for Pure Seed. Kayla Kipp down in the left corner here, Equipment Manager for Nemacolin. Brandy Merrick, she is our Graduate Research Assistant with NC State University. Renee Geyer is a Golf Course Superintendent for Canterwood Golf and Country Club. Jill Seymour is the one who dropped her phone at the start of this panel discussion. She is a golf superintendent for Charleston Springs South Course. And last but not least, Noelle Popoli, I hope I said that right, Noelle, is transitioning to a new position that everyone is super excited for. She will be the first assistant at the Olympic Club. So like I said, we have an all-star cast here for you. And we just got back from what I've been calling it, the U.S. Women's Open Summer Camp down at Pine Needles. So we all had the opportunity to gather for a week. These incredible women were taking care of the course down there for the U.S. Women's Open. I was just along for the ride, and I was so excited to be a part of this group. I'm even more honored to be invited to moderate this conversation. But Jill, I'm gonna task you with the first question. And that's just to kind of set the scene for everyone of what the Women in Turf movement is. For anybody that wasn't following along or doesn't know what the movement is or isn't on Twitter because we blew it up last week, kind of set the scene for us. Paint the picture of what it was like last week and why it was so special.
Last week was an amazing week. We're getting together with all the other women in the industry who are superintendents, assistant superintendents, first and foremost, and then we have educators, we have salespeople, and we're all in there, and we're so excited to just get down to this tournament, which is setting the scene, setting the golf course up for the best women in golf in the world. And we're just so happy. We have countdowns. We're just getting in there and seeing old friends, new friends. And we're going to get together and do what we do. We're going to, work our tails off and make it the best golf course possible.
And we definitely made a mark, that's for sure. I mean, Kelly and I had the privilege of kind of riding around and asking everyone, how they felt about us kind of rolling into town and shaking things up. And there wasn't an ounce of negativity that came out of anyone's mouth. It was, thank God you guys are here. We're so thankful for you guys to be here. And that was just really special from my lens to see, the type of impact that you guys were able to make.
It is definitely not easy to get ready for an event like this. And when we got there and we found out that they were running on a 9-man crew to get this place ready. So they're doing all kinds of renovations for months, years in advance. I think everyone that was there was absolutely blown away by that fact. And they said that in the break room, they had a calendar countdown to this event until when they had some reinforcements come in, and they knew it wasn't their general run of the mill, hey, I'm going to volunteer here and get a free shirt and a badge. They were actually getting a lot of skill, getting off, the little clown car with a whole lot of skill. That's what we were. We roll into town and, tell us what we need to do. And we're on it.
That's the perfect way to articulate, what we were able to accomplish last week. And we're all gathered here today to talk about another special element that was at play. And Kelly, you shared with me kind of a group chat that happened yesterday, and you talked a lot about the privilege to kind of share this experience. So I would love for you to, talk a little bit more about that and the other special element that was at play last week.
Thanks, Meg. And Jill, thank you. As always, I have the privilege to rope you and Noelle. So thanks for coming along. I think that it was really special. I love what you just shared, Jill. When we all got to town, we realized that 9-man team had done everything they could in their power to bring this tournament forward. It was mind-blowing. And then the fact that we could come alongside, lift them up, and really, I think, and somebody's going to have to quote me on this or remind me of the quote, but 2 days in, there's a couple of new mowers in town to join the gals. And I believe David's comment was, follow the girls. Like, and what a compliment, right? Because we did come alongside them to support them, and so many talent, and I come from a different lens because I come from the manufacturing side, on the grass seed side. But to watch these gals that I have known for a long time now, just roll into town with just full of adoration for David's team and the willingness to build the team quickly. And I would say within the first Sunday, Monday, by Tuesday, it was game on. And I think they felt some relief. And I think all of us were just having the time of our lives. And it was sweet that we got to do that together and that we became one big team. So I love that you shared that, Jill. The second piece came up when the calendar had turned to June. And if any of you that are on here know when this happened, it was like, hey, y'all, happy Pride. And we're like, wait, what? Does anyone know who gave that shout out? Was it you, Brandy? Thank gosh, we almost missed it, right? So Brandy goes, hey, happy Pride. And we're all like, oh my gosh, happy Pride. And then here we are, so many of us as we're represented here, and there's several more, that we realize those are typically things that we celebrate, not in this environment, but when we're home. And my wife is at home with our crew celebrating Pride where I live. And then here we all are together celebrating Pride in a really special context. There's oftentimes, especially in our industry, that we're kind of on our own little islands, right? We do our thing, and then we meet up with the gals here, we meet up with the gals, and now we have this amazing network, a sisterhood, if you will. And then another layer to that is we all happen to be together for Pride. And so the ability to come back full forward, I have chills, because the ability to come back full circle and talk about that today, I think it's very special. I think it's special not only for who we are, but how we all come together in this industry. And we want to make sure that everyone knows this industry is welcoming. We have a privilege to be at this Pride table and have this conversation to lift each other up, but also to lift those up that may have a hesitancy or a concern. And if you're interested, here we are, it's okay, it's accepted, and we want you to be accepted. And I just think it's really special for all of us to gather and take a little bit of time to honor that happens also to be Pride Month. So thank you, Brandy, strong work.
Yeah, that was the perfect way to set the scene there, Kelly. And you called me yesterday and shared some of the messages that you guys were talking about, and how this was a privilege to be able to share this experience that you guys had last week, not only for Women in Turf, but like you said, that you guys all got to be together and celebrate Pride together. And you weren't off on your own island. You were able to be there with each other and with your allies and really celebrate something so beautiful. So I really appreciate you guys including me in this conversation and allowing me to kind of moderate your experiences here. And one experience they shared with me was you, Ashley. You were able to share that you'd been looking forward to this week and how important it was for you to get to this week and be able to be surrounded by these ladies who not only support you, but also share an experience that is so intimate to you guys. And I would love, if you're comfortable, to share that with us and kind of talk about what this week meant for you.
Yeah, so a lot of them had already heard my story, but for anyone that hasn't heard my story, I won't go into the full story because it takes a while. But mainly back in 2019, was my girlfriend at that time. We're engaged, haha. But so back in 2019, we got together. We hid our relationship for like a year because we didn't want anybody to know, especially in this area, how people react. So like 2020 came around, we felt comfortable. We knew that we weren't going anywhere. So we decided to share that relationship with our parents. And then when we did, it kind of took a turn for the worse, I guess, in a sense. It was just, I don't know, you all know probably what I went through. So I won't go fully into all of that. But while that happened, I got accepted into the Women in Turf conference. It was all virtual. So I was looking at everybody on the little tiny screen like I am right now. And during that time, when I think we were taking a lunch break, but then everybody on the screen kept saying, this is what my wife made for lunch. This is what my wife made for lunch. And everybody just kept saying wife, wife, wife. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a wife one day. So this week, like looking into this, I knew a bunch of these women already going into this just from a little tiny screen on my computer. And I knew that they all had wives. And so it took a little bit for me to actually say that. So whenever we were there, I was saying fiance, fiance, fiance for like 3 days. And it was just a safe word, I guess, because if I say fiance, nobody knows if I'm talking about a man or a woman. So it was just a safe place that I could actually say she. And I was having a conversation with Kelly, and she just came out so naturally. And I didn't even realize I said it until Kelly looked back at me like 2 times and she was like, wait, what'd you say? And then I realized, I was like, okay, I said she, and it came out so naturally. And it was a 180 for the rest of the week. It just felt like I had gained 30 new family members that I never knew that I would have.
Sorry, that took me a minute to react because it's seriously so powerful. And when Kelly shared that with me, I told her I was literally shaking with chills. And I'm sure anyone who hears that has a similar experience. And we see Kelly's tearing up, and it's hard not to hearing that. And, my next question was really like, why is it so important for us to highlight and share these experiences in our industry? And what you just shared there is exactly why it's important. So that other people know that, like, hey, you are able to be yourself in this industry. We're a welcoming industry, and you can come as you are. And I love that you had that experience, and you were able to, fully live that out this week. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's an honor to be able to hear that, and I really appreciate you opening up with us.
I even brought out my fancy shirt for the week. I felt like it was a good spot to wear this shirt today.
The perfect spot. Thank you so much. And then, if anybody else really wants to take that question and kind of take it further, why is it important for us to highlight stories like Ashley's and stories like all your own, and really, showcase that this is a welcoming industry, and that, we want to be allies. And why is it our privilege to kind of share that experience to others? Just by raise of hand, anybody want to take that question?
Can I just I want somebody else to take that question, but can I tandem on that? And I think, Ashley, what you also shared is like, I'm 30 years your senior, right? I grew up in a place where it wasn't okay to be me. And it was a long time before I owned it. Unfortunately, it was my wife who made me brave. It was my wife who helped empower me to be able even to sit here and do things like this today. And 30 years later, here you are. And one of the things that you just shared was that you want to make sure that if there's another 20, 21, 22-year-old out there, that they know they're not alone, that it's okay. And we are together. So I just want to make sure that we didn't miss that little piece.
A very important piece. So I'm looking to you, Brandy, and I'm looking to you, Kip, and I'm looking to you, Renee, to maybe take that next question. If any of you want to take a stab at why you think it's so important to highlight these type of stories.
I had talked about bringing this up while we were still at the Open, and it's like, well, maybe it's not the right time. And after yesterday, whenever Ashley shared her story, I was like, it's definitely the right time. You know what? I served in the Air Force for 6 years, and 5 out of those 6 years, it was not okay. I couldn't talk about it, be about it. Nobody asked me about it. So I know what it's like to hide, and I don't want anybody else to. We're welcoming. We're here. Be you. There's no reason if your life not being who you are.
Love that. Thank you so much, Kip. And Renee, I'll let you take follow right behind her there.
First of all, good morning, everyone. I apologize for my voice. I'm not feeling well right now, but I am not at work today for obvious reasons. But I wanted to step in here. Kelly interviewed me. Hope you can understand me. Kelly interviewed me when we did our documentary interview. And when I got home, I feel like I sort of forced my wife to sit. I screen mirrored my phone onto my TV. And I scrolled through every single picture that was taken on my phone or whatever had been dropped into WhatsApp and all this stuff. Excuse me. And we got to that interview because she held my phone and recorded it. I don't know if anybody else knows that, but she held my phone and recorded it. She held it against her chest. So I got to watch like an 11-minute conversation that I had with Kelly Lynch. Nobody else was there. It was just her and I talking. And there was a point within that interview, the word privilege came up. Why is it a privilege for you to be here? And you know what my answer was? I am me. That is why it is a privilege. I am me. I'm a privilege because I'm my own person and I have a place in the world. And I've gotten to walk through in my shoes to get where I am. And that is the privilege. That is the gift. That we have a place in the world and you are who you are. There is no need to justify it beyond that. Peace. I can't talk anymore. Love y'all.
It's your cold. It's not tears at all, right?
Well, I was just gonna say, similar to Kip's story, my wife and I started dating while we were both teachers in North Carolina. And if you know anything about the South, it can be a pretty scary place for anybody who's not very traditional in every way. And so we, couldn't tell anybody or couldn't say anything or do anything for legitimate fear of losing our jobs. And so when I left to go to the golf course, it was like the best feeling in the world because I could talk freely about the person that means the most to me and not have to worry about losing my job, not have to worry about offending somebody, not have to worry about, what is so-and-so going to say because what is this parent going to think or what's the administration going to do? So it was just really, really lucky, I guess, to be able to be in such like an affirming, welcoming space, and to not have to try to hide that anymore. And I think, just to be able to spread that message and let people know that you are okay no matter where you are. And it really sucks to have to not be who you are. But yeah, just want people to know that they are loved no matter where they are. So.
Thank you so much, Brandy. That was beautiful. We appreciate you sharing that. Jill, so I'm going to pass it back to you if you want to take a stab at that last question, why it's important to share and highlight these experiences in our industry.
Yeah, it's definitely super important. I know for me, I have, a group of girls from college I've known for over 20 years, and they're my sisters, but somehow meeting this group of girls 1 year ago, this group has risen and probably exceeded the level of love and just mutual respect and everything, just because in this group, I think it's a complete 110% transparency on so many levels of my life. And when I can bring the turf aspect into it, as goofy as it sounds, we can all geek out together. And that's just one more huge aspect, that is, my wife, she respects what I do and she loves what I do, but she completely rolls her eyes when I start geeking out and talking turf because she doesn't get it. She doesn't, it's just not the same thing. So, to have just that one more level of commonality with these other women, along with, having wives and whatnot, it's just, God, it's like, you just want to bottle it up. It's unbearable.
I love that. And that really, there was something special about that group last week. Like you said, it was just like, you wish you could bottle it up and bring it back into your daily life, because it's like, as the week started to end, we all got that, like they call it the Sunday scaries a little bit, where it's like we all just knew, like, we are never, I kept telling Kelly, you can't redo life. And in
No.
the sense that, like, we all knew, like, we're never going to be in this time and place again with this group of women, that we were all just so uplifting to one another. And it was like that moment in time that, knew we'd never be able to get back, but how special it is that we got to experience it. And next
We
year,
didn't think it was going to get better than Olympic Club.
yeah.
And honest God, because it changes. I mean, it, not to take away from Olympic Club, but gosh, just like if it continues to end up like this, just surpassing the last year over and over, I mean, I'm going to be traveling every single year.
That's a great outlook to have, that, we may not be able to redo this past week, but it's just going to get better and better and better. And I love that perspective. And Aaron, welcome to the chat. We have a Brady brunch look going on right now in our little panels here. But Aaron is an assistant mechanic at TPC Piper Glen. And Aaron, I don't know, we just kind of set the scene of what last week was here, talked about how special it was to all be together, and then also to celebrate Pride together. But I wanted to task you with a question, if you feel comfortable. Why is it important for us to share these experiences? Ashley shared her story, but why does it feel important to you for us to all be able to share these experiences in this industry?
Well, I mean, for one, being a female mechanic in itself is a big deal. I mean, there's not that many out there. I didn't think there was any other than me until I met Kayla, which was actually really awesome. So I talked to Kayla, and then I actually got to meet her, which was like super intense for me. It was really an awesome experience. And I mean, we got along so well. And then for both of us to be gay was even more, because I mean, like I said, it's hard enough to be a female and be a mechanic, but to be gay on top of it, and then have somebody else that you can share that with, and then to meet all the women, who are also gay and just like me, you know what I mean? I was lucky enough to have Ashley, who I actually work with, who ended up being gay as well. So I mean, all of it was just a super good experience. And growing up, it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always so like accepting, and then to be a part of this where you're more than accepted. I mean, and it is a sisterhood and everything. And I just think it's important to get it out there that not only can you be a female mechanic, but you can also be gay and be a mechanic and be accepted. I mean, that's just a huge deal to me. And I know that there's other girls out there who might be thinking, oh, well, I kind of want to do this, but I don't know. And then if they're gay on top of it, now they can see that it is a possibility.
Love that. And what a role model you are. I mean, we've got an all-star cast of role models here. So another element that I would love to touch on, and this is just to kind of pick your guys' brains, but there was 30 women down there last week. And so whether or not, all of us were celebrating Pride alongside you and as an ally. And what does that mean to have an ally in this industry? And how can others be inclusive, not only to women in turf, but to other minorities in this industry? Kelly, I know you'll have a good answer for this, so can I task you with it?
Well, and I love that's the case, because I look around this panel and the brave, the bold, the beautiful, if you will, because I think that's the difference. And I think that this is welcoming, no matter who you are. And it doesn't have to be gender related. It doesn't have to be heterosexuality, homosexual, whatever it is. There's all these layers that we can just pull away from it and share that this is a welcoming industry. I think the uniqueness is you definitely need to be at the right space, right? We can all agree there's probably some spaces that are not the best place for you to be, but that's okay. Be brave and move along. There isn't there, you don't have to decide to stay in one space. And I'm guessing a few of you on here, and I could call out Kip and Brandy, that would share that they're from their lens, what that looks like. And even Noelle, you know, she's making a shift right now. And so I think that the key message is this is welcoming. Find a space, find a place, reach out. We'll help you find the right space, and then enjoy it, because there's so many great things that we do get to do in this industry that I think because of some of that potential, the unknowns, or perhaps you don't see things like this out there. And so you don't really comprehend what that space is like, and that you can be a part of it. And I love what Tanya says. If you feel like attracted to it, then find a way in, because it is really amazing place to be. We just need to open that door so that all of us, no matter what that minority group might be, has a place at the table.
Tanya became like our scribe for the week. Like everything she said, I wanted to like write it down and put it on a chuggy like a board and put it up in my room somewhere. Everything she said just articulated the week so perfectly.
And I think one of the ones that we could all, as we think of her and smile right now, the grass does not care who's cutting it. No, right? And that's the same space that we all have that privilege to be in. We are all here because we do what we love, and we all should have that privilege. We just happen to be here in Pride Month, so we get another layer to celebrating those that we love.
So perfect. Thank you. I knew you would be able to articulate that perfectly. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to that? Just as far as whether it's, advice to others who may want to make a change within their organization, or they want others to know that they're an ally. How can they be more inclusive to, like I said, not only women in turf, but other minorities? Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Brandy, love it. Take it away, sister.
I would just say, as far as the inclusivity to any kind of person who may be a little bit different than you, a little education goes a long way. Making yourself knowledgeable. And I know this is a big thing, especially in the BIPOC communities, is, typically white people will ask them what to do. Don't give them extra homework. Figure it out yourself. Find things that you can do. And also, just be friendly, just be kind, just be welcoming, say hello to everybody you meet. Try to make a connection with somebody who's new, somebody who is maybe a little bit different than you in some way, because I can guarantee you probably have something in common that you can share.
Love that. Thank you so much. And Renee, please take it away.
Just the one God, man, that sounded good this morning. Wow.
You sound beautiful. Don't worry about it. It's chef's kiss, as Kelly's doing.
Yeah. Kill 'em with kindness. I've walked through many doors in my life into jobs and school and this and that, where people instantly have, like I've said before, this is a blessing and it's also a curse. You just got to deal with it. You walk into a room and it's like, you got to be the one that is setting the tone. You have to be the one that is setting the stage and the way that you're going to conduct the room, whether you're the supervisor, whether you're a student, whether you're new. Kill 'em with kindness. I think that's an old saying that my mom used to tell me, and I think to this day it's gone a long way for me. When I changed jobs, moved across the country, I was like, all right, here we go. Kill 'em with kindness, girl. Go for it. And that's how I started, and it's worked out really well for me. So that's a little maybe insignificant for some, but I think it's important.
It's huge. And I can say, after spending a week with you, you know how to conduct a room. You come in and you light it up. You set the stage for this is going to be a good time. We're all going to rally around each other, uplift each other. And I can say it was a privilege to be in your presence, because you definitely, know how to conduct a room and make everyone feel welcome, make everyone feel, excited to be there. So, and one thing, you sharing we're both Ohio girls. You sharing that you were brave enough to pick up and move to the other side of the country, that made me be brave to, even consider a move like that. And I love that, you're out here just doing things like that and sharing it with us. So yeah, like I said, you know how to conduct a room. So if anybody needs tips on it, just follow Renee around for a day. Anybody else have any other commentary on that last question before we move on? Okay, perfect. So then now what I'm going to do is task each of you. And if you need a second to think about it, as Kelly Lynch would say, what makes you brave? And this is something that as Kelly and I kind of went around and were interviewing people, when she asked people this, there's no story that looks the same, and there's no source of inspiration that looks the same or makes people brave. So I would love to hear from each of you if you're willing.
I had been working in the industry in some capacity full-time for about 6 years, or part-time for about 6 years, before I had finally decided that I wanted to take a leap, make the plunge, whatever, and really dive into the turf industry full-time from being a teacher. But I was petrified. I mean, I'd had lots of really great mentors, tons of people who were super supportive and, very helpful. I was really, really fortunate actually, but I was still so scared. And then it all goes back to my wife, who had watched an absolute terror of a school year and said, you've been doing this for years on the side. You love this job. You're happiest on the golf course. She said, maybe it's time to just take a leap of faith. And actually, she had found Steve Harvey somewhere out in the universe has a TED Talk that's about taking a leap of faith. So we watched that and sobbed uncontrollably. And the next day I submitted my letter of resignation to the school and took that leap of faith to go full-time on the golf course. And absolutely just loved it more than I ever thought I would. And, never knew that I actually needed women in the industry in my life until I met them. And ever since then, it's just ballooned like crazy. And so, yeah, taking that initial leap of faith and kind of like Kelly, my wife, telling me, look, this is what you love. I see it in your face every day when you come home in the summer and on the weekends. So just try it. Worst case scenario, you'll fail, but you never know unless you try. So she was my, her and Steve Harvey.
What a duo. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And Brandy, I love that you said that you never knew that you needed other women in this industry, because I think a lot of us, since it is such a male dominated industry, it's almost like a badge of honor in a sense, like, hey, I can run with the boys. I can hang with the guys. Like, I can do this, like, no problem. And we wear it as like a badge. Like, I'm no different. I can hang with the boys. But how special it is to actually get together with a group of women and be like, yeah, I can run with the boys, but this is 10 times more great. Like, to be around my girls and just do what I love. And it was insanely intoxicating last week to be with a group of people who love what they do so much. I don't think there was an ounce of negativity that came out of anybody. And I think that it was even more enhanced by being able to do what you love with the people that you love. So I love that you shared that. And actually, you kind of had a similar experience in the sense that you also left the teaching field and you took that massive leap of faith. And, I think when I was interviewing you, I was like, it's so hard for people to make a career switch, because we have this timeline that's been ingrained in our head. Like, okay, you go to high school, then you go to college, and then you find your significant other, and then you start a family. And then, it's like this crazy rigid timeline. So to deviate from the path at any point, no matter what the reason may be, is daunting. And Brandy did it, you did it. Share a little bit about, what makes you brave and what inspired you to make that switch.
Yeah, so my story's kind of like Brandy's in a sense. I went to school. I was going to be a teacher. I was going to teach agriculture education in high school. I was already set up for that path. While I was at school, I was working at the golf course part-time, and I started there as an internship, and that just turned into me never leaving. But while I was there working my internship, I was with Aaron, and Aaron was like, just stay, don't go back to school. It's fine, blah, blah, all this. I was like, it's my senior year. All I've got left is one semester in student teaching, and I'm done with college. So I go back, I finished my last year out. I did student teaching and I went into actual teaching, my first year of teaching. And after that, I wasn't even finished with that full year. I think it was like March. It was when Corona hit or COVID, whatever. It was when that hit. And when that hit, I was like, you know what? This is not what I want to do. So Aaron gave me that push and knew it all along before I even knew what I wanted to do with my life. And while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do during that time, I remember talking with Holly and was like, okay, this is what I want to do, but I'm too far into it. I can't stop now. Like, I've just got to be a teacher. And she was like, who says that? Like, who's telling you have to be a teacher? And I was like, well, I mean, I've already got all this student loan debt and this is what I have to do. So I was talking to my superintendent about it. And he was like, if you want to start, I'll hire you tomorrow and you can quit your job. And I was like, I was telling Kelly, I was like, it's a $15,000 pay cut. I can't afford that. And Kelly was like, whenever I was talking to her about it, she was like, but is it though? And I was like, you know what? You're right. So whenever I was trying to figure out like, okay, this is how I'm going to have to do this financially. This is what I actually want to do. How can I make it happen? I actually had a phone call in 2020 with Jess, who was with us last week. And I knew in the back of my mind that this is what I wanted to do. And Jess actually told me on the phone, she was like, you know, this is what you want to do. So do it. And I'm like, you're right. This is what I want to do. So I made that transition. Holly was with me through all of it, every bit of it. I couldn't have done that without her being there the entire time for me. But whenever I made that transition, my superintendent was like, okay, you're a female going into this. You have to show these guys that you can do this 10 times harder than they can do. So me and Aaron made this little pact. And now our superintendent jokes us and says, if I had a whole crew of these two women, I'm good. And so like just hearing that and how powerful that is, and just to know like whenever we go out and we do things, and I've even heard some of the guys, which I didn't think any of the guys actually noticed how me and Aaron could do these things, but I actually had one of the guys right before we came to the tournament. He comes up to me and he goes, you know, you and Aaron outwork most of us here. And I was like, most of you, we can outwork all of y'all. So that was nice to hear. It was good to hear somebody like one of the guys on the crew to actually say that. Like it was really powerful in itself too, because I didn't think any of them even noticed like what me and Aaron have to go through to be an assistant superintendent, to be an assistant mechanic, wanting to be a superintendent and a mechanic one day and run a crew. So I didn't think any of the guys actually knew that like an effect that it has on a woman being in this industry. But it was nice for them to know, or to them to see that and to realize that and to actually come out and say that. But I would say Holly makes me brave. My superintendent makes me brave. He pushes me and Aaron both, be confident. If this is what you want to do it. If this is the route you want to take, he'll ask us and he'll ask us questions like, okay, this is what's going on. What should we do about this situation at the golf course? And he pushes us to be like confident in our answers. Like if you second guess it, or if you like, he notices. And so he'll push you to be the best you can be, to be confident in everything that you do. And I know I have a hard time with being confident because I start second guessing myself and I start thinking, okay, well, somebody can do this better than I can. And so he'll push me and Aaron harder than he will the guys because he knows that we can do it. And then lastly, the ones that make me brave is you all. Having last week to be with all of you guys, I did not know how much I needed that until it happened. And I've had so many conversations with Holly since we've been back, and it was so good for her to be there, just to let her be there and see, because whenever I start talking about it and I'm like, I get choked up, I can't get my words out. And I'm like, I can't explain it. And she was like, I know that. And she was like, for me to be able to see it, she said, I know exactly what you want to say by just being there and seeing it last week. And just all of that together, it's so powerful. And every time somebody asks me, like, describe last week, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, it's so hard to put it in words that every time I say that, or every time somebody asks me the questions, I try to describe it and it doesn't come out right. And I'm like, you just had to have been there.
Yeah, we have the best kept secret.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, you were able to shout out a lot of your champions there, your superintendent, your fiance Holly, and also Erin. I mean, what a support she was for you. And that's beautiful that you guys were able to have that relationship at your job, but then also both come last week and experience this week together. So Erin, I would love for you to take that question next. You know, what makes you brave?
Okay, so I mean, Ashley pretty much stole all my answers. Like, you should have let me go first, and then she would have to come up with something else. But I mean, on top of everything that Ashley said, I mean, when I even first got into the golf industry, I wasn't even going into golf. Like I was a landscaper. I did landscaping. I worked on horse farms. So, I mean, I was in that aspect of it. When I applied at Piper Glen, I actually applied for tennis maintenance only because of the landscape part. They wanted a landscaper. So I was like, oh, I can definitely do that. I can learn the tennis part, which, you know, I catch on pretty quickly. And so I worked over there for a little bit, and Steffi, our superintendent, you know, saw what I could do as far as the landscaping. So he was like, oh, hey, I'm going to want you to come over here. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm comfortable where I'm at. I got my little shed. I got my cart. You know, I got my routine. And then he kept pushing me. So finally I gave in to him because, you know, you got to. And I started doing the landscaping around there. Well, I got to the point where like he would just start like stealing me to go on the golf course. You know, he would steal me and Ashley when Ashley came there. I mean, honestly, I put Ashley on the biggest freaking thing possible and was like, if you can't do this, like, you know, we're gonna get you on this. Like I knew what I wanted to be able to do, and then I knew what I needed Ashley to do. So I was like, this is what I'm gonna put you on. I put her in a somewhat small but open area, and I was like, here, do it. And she was so nervous. I could tell she was so nervous. However, I mean, she killed it. I told her, I said, take your time, you know, just do the best you can, you know, we'll work on it. And she knocked it out. Like she really did. And I mean, just the support, even with Ashley, I mean, Ashley has made me brave in a lot of things. You know, especially I've never been really social, and Ashley has helped me be more social. And I mean, Steffi, I would have to say Steffi and Ashley have been a huge part of that. My mom, like I was telling y'all at one point, you know, when I came to tennis and I was doing that, and this is when I was kind of thinking about, you know, going over to the golf side of it and do the landscape and stuff like that. Like when I first got to tennis, my mom had just passed away, like literally a month before I started working there. And there was this hawk, you know, that stayed literally at the tennis courts, perched on the fencing, and was like watching me. I felt like it was just constantly watching me. So when I made the decision to actually go to golf, like that was, I think, when the hawk finally, I didn't see it as much. I would see it more in like, you know, around the course and stuff like that, or like around the clubhouse, which was actually really strange, but also really awesome. So, I mean, just in all of that, I would just have to say like Ashley, my mom, Steffi, I mean, even my dad's who taught me to be a mechanic. You know, he would just take me out there constantly and show me things. So I wanted to be just like him, you know. I wanted to play guitar like him. I wanted to play softball, just the whole nine. I mean, so I mean, between all of them, I have been lucky enough to have that awesome, you know, awesome people around me who are very, very supportive.
That says a lot to why you're able to be a support for others. And definitely it surprised me that you said you weren't social, because I got to ride around with you all last week, and you are a social butterfly in my mind. So that's very surprising to me. But Jill, I'll hit you next with the question. Just what makes you brave? And then Kayla, you know, you're coming up next, so you got time to think about it.
I would say definitely my wife makes me brave, but I don't know why I do the things I do. What makes me brave besides my wife? I've always been an odd duck and just did what I wanted to do. But I could tell you for certain with my wife's support and pushing me. But once I met this group of girls, man, I don't know if I feel like I have a protective bubble around me or I just have a hell of a posse behind me. But I feel so just strong, especially, knowing that I have these people behind me that are so similar in so many different aspects. So whether whether the women make me brave or they just keep me brave, but I'm not trading it in for anything.
I love that so much. Yeah, the ultimate girl posse.
Mhm.
So Kip, what makes you brave?
So I was brave in the gay world a long time ago, probably around middle school. Like I was me then. That's what it was. And when I joined the military, I had to put it in a backpack and kind of forget about it for a while. And it's just not the first thing that comes to mind. I love people, and I treat them with respect. It's not the first thing I want them to know about me. I'm a good person. If you need help, I'm going to help you. It doesn't matter who you are. That's just how I've always been. And so whenever I got into golf, I was happy in my own little world. I was just at my course doing my thing. I had no idea about any of this. And I became an equipment manager member with GCSAA and went to the golf show in 2020 and scared. I didn't know anybody, I'm like, okay, I'll just go to classes and keep my head down. I'll be fine. And out of nowhere, here comes Kelly Lynch, hey, what's your name? And we want you to come back to the hotel. We're going to hang out in the lobby, have drinks. I want you to meet some people. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, I was nervous. But from 2020 to now, I couldn't be happier. I'd never do this back then. Kelly and Jill and Renee and Jen Torres was there. I wouldn't be so involved if it wasn't for the support of the women I met there. That was my pivoting moment per se. But I'm much more social these days, and it's perfect. I love it. I love these girls. I talk them up all the time, putting pictures on the wall. Just proud of all of you. Y'all make me brave. But Kelly's the one that grabbed me by the shirt tail and said, come on, let's go.
Yep, you definitely cannot hide from Kelly Lynch. That's a fact. And Renee, you're someone that you had a huge career shift of sorts. You had to take that plunge, but in so many other elements, you've had to be brave. So tell us a little bit about what makes you be brave.
Yeah, my journey to the golf industry was not a traditional one, much like what Jill shared in her Golf Channel interview last week. Good job, Jill. Well done. I was an alternate path after spending 3 years of college, sort of like Ashley. But props to you, Ashley, for finishing that, because that's huge. Because I did not finish my initial degree path. I swapped and went straight into turf. So that's huge for you. Congratulations to you. But a lot of personal issues in my life, everybody has crap that they have to go through, family issues, people passing away, all sorts of stuff that you don't expect. And life throws us a bunch of curveballs, but it's a matter of if you can try and catch them, or if you do catch them, and then you can go from there. But I would say that my wife makes me brave for sure. And I do have to point out, there was one night where I think we were getting a head count around the table of like, okay, you got a wife. Okay, you got a husband. Okay, wife, wife, wife. And it was great. It was a moment where we were like, yeah, we're counting it up right now. It's pretty good. But my wife makes me brave. And the opportunity to initially meet a lot of the women that I now consider my very dear friends back in 2019, when we initially first got together, much like Kip. Yeah, I saw that, Jill. Much like Kip, I didn't know that it was even an opportunity, or I didn't know that there was anybody else, because in my chapter at that point in time, I was the only one. And when I met all these women, I came home and I was like blown away. And whenever somebody asks me about that experience, I say it was probably the most profound and powerful professional experience that I've ever had in my life. And I've had experiences that have gone beyond that, but that for me was a fire starter. I didn't know what was going to happen, but that experience made me brave. Because I'd tried before, some of you guys have heard this story. Like I tried before, like 10 years before that, to get some recognition for women in the business at the national conference and show. And it just never got legs. It never got legs. It never had any traction. But after that experience, I remember coming home, and I think I text before like WhatsApp was even set up. I'm pretty sure I sent a group text message to Kelly, Jill, and Jen Snyder. I'm pretty sure I did that. And I was like, hey, you three, I just want you guys to know, I really appreciate the camaraderie, the friendship, the instantaneous connection. And from then on, I knew that I could be brave with the support of my family, my wife, my people at work. It's just all situational as far as where we find ourselves and where we draw support from. So hopefully people are lucky enough to have that in their day-to-day lives. I know I certainly consider myself incredibly blessed to have had the relationships that I've built over the years, and the people that, met along the way, dragged through the room with me, whatever you want to call it. I like it, it's all good.
Love that. And Kelly, I'm gonna put your question back on you, so you have to answer your own question now. What makes you brave?
And I love that because you hear all these stories of they're like, well, then Kelly Lynch drugged me along, and Kelly Lynch is, and if I have to be the instigator, then it's absolutely my privilege. And I've always been the instigator. But I think it's really important. And I know I'm a little over the top, and people just roll their eyes and like, but you still come with me, and you still get, you still get me. And I think that's the gift, because for me and for most of us, it wasn't okay to be me growing up. And it wasn't until my brother was brave and my uncle that made it okay, and that we had to really break away from parts of the family so that we could be ourselves, right? And now it's interesting because this is my family, and they broke away, and we get to lift each other up. And if I had to go through all of that to get to this, that's the gift, and I'm happy to be that one. But really, the person who made me brave, and you all know this, my wife Marty, she could witness this, the skill set that I have and the engagement that I have to bring people along, but I always had kind of left that part out. And it was Marty who said, babe, if you are not who you are, full circle, then how does anyone else know to come along with you? And here we all are. I wish she was here today to witness this, as she will. The only reason that I'm sitting in this room today with all of you is because she made me brave. And she proved to me that if we don't do what we're doing right now, we don't bring people along, we don't make it okay, we don't as Brandy Carlisle would say, if we don't normalize it and make and just talk about it, just like everybody else gets to talk about their lives, then we're really doing all of us a disservice, right? And I've had more than one occasion somebody be like, you're gay. In fact, it even happened this week at the Olympic, or at Pine Needles, and it happened to be the gay mechanic from Pine Needles, from Mid Pines, that called me out on it, Jesus. And he was so sweet, and he was like, I knew. And I'm like, well, Jesus, I have a wife too. And he's like, oh, okay, I didn't know this, right? And so, but he is the one really that speared on this conversation, and I will always be grateful to him, because we prove each other right, Brandy. Yeah, like we prove each other right over and over again. And now I sit in this room full of all of you. You make me brave. I don't have to be doing all this, right? I get to do this. And I love it, Renee, you said privilege. And the privilege for me to sit in this room with all of you and to bring all of those forward with us. Wow, if you would have told me that, and I can't wait to tell you that, well, I can tell you this, but I can't wait to tell my wife that she's the reason that I'm sitting in this room, because she made me brave. And I have a brother, David, he's my wonder twin, and he makes me brave. And of course, my Uncle Steve makes me brave. And all of you, priceless. It's like chef's kiss, like,
Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for, making us all take a moment to be thoughtful about what we've experienced and what we've been able to be a part of. And so many times last week, you were like, just be here in this moment, savor this moment, really, look around and see what we're getting to experiencing here. So thank you for that, Kelly. And you definitely were the best camp counselor that anybody could have wished for.
Well, and Meg, I would be remiss if we didn't all give you a shout out. You went, yes, right? You hopped in, yeah, and wide open, Mighty Meg style, and you brought it, and you're bringing forward stories and footage that none of us could ever have imagined. The gift that you've given from the bottom of your soul, but more importantly, like you were all in, girl, and you are us, and we will forever be grateful for the lens that you brought, the humor that you brought, and you worked your ass off, not to mention that. And I have to also say the same, everybody worked their ass off, but if it hadn't worked out that Kayla and Aaron were able to do all the things that were happening in the background and take some of that load from me, in fact, not even take the load from me, they'd be like, we got this. Why don't you run along and go Kelly somewhere else? Okay, we got this. And so I'm forever grateful, right? I think I just made my own bind up. Hey, why don't you go Kelly somewhere else? Okay. But I think it took a team, and I think it's a privilege for all of us to share our stories. And Meg, you make us brave because you give us a space to do this in. And Jill, you know how much I love you, and I love that I roped you right down into this.
Well, thank you guys so much. And I would turn it right back at you and say that you guys all inspired me last week to be brave, to be many things. And I'm so honored that I was able to help moderate this conversation and just be a part of this girl posse, because there's really nothing better. And you said it perfectly, Renee. I'm going to steal your words. The most profound professional experience. That's really what this has been for me. And I didn't know I needed it. And I so badly now just want to recreate it, get back to it, because it was definitely something special. And I appreciate each and every one of you for joining this conversation, helping shine a light on this, for celebrating Pride with us, and for really just sharing your experiences. So I can't thank you guys enough.